Hello there, welcome everybody. It's Diorama Don here. I think it was 3 videos ago I made a video on how I cloned a Panther tank. So I bought a Tamiya plastic kit, took all the dimensions from the plastic kit and then made my own version of it. So that's what I did, and I did mention at the time that I would try to do the same with a Sherman tank and try to make an even better job than I did here. I think this is quite passable. So I'm going to try the same thing with a Sherman tank. So I'll put that to one side. So we have a Sherman tank, the Tamiya M4A3, whatever that means. So it's a daunting task, but I'm going to try to recreate it, okay, or clone it. So it's made up generally of 3 parts. There's the turret, the body and the chassis, and then the wheels and tracks, plus all the bits and pieces that you stick on later. So I'm going to divide the whole operation into 3 separate videos. So the first one will be how to recreate the turret. So you're given the shape, so I can take all the dimensions from this. The only problem being with the Panther turret, that was fabricated, so it was easier to make like a square shape of turret, whereas this is molded, as you can see, with all the rounded edges, so not quite so easy to recreate. So the only way I thought of being able to do it is was with styrofoam. Polystyrene I don't think would do it, but styrofoam will, a good quality one. So I've cut a piece the right size, and with that placed on there and then marking around that shape, then cutting that basic shape out, then it should be possible with sandpaper to make that shape of a turret. One thing is for certain, you won't do it the first time. It's going to take a few efforts to do. So it took me 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts at trying to get somewhere near the right shape, and I think I've achieved it. So we've basically got the same shape as the original. So if I put that on there, that's the same shape and everything under there. The angles are right. The rounded pieces are good. So now I've got my shape of turret. This won't be any good to paint. I'll have to cover it with, well, I'm going to use a watered down wall filler. Cover that, paint it over with that, let that dry, and then smooth the surface off until it is as smooth as this. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that first. So once we've got that, then we can start adding all the bits and pieces on. So as I go along, I shall make the Tamiya kit, and then alongside it I shall make my own kit. The fact is, I make dioramas. There are something like 240 videos that I've made in the last 2 years, and they include military vehicles of some kind. And I've always wanted to have a decent Sherman tank. Well, I know I'm going to have one because one is Tamiya, but it would be nice to have another one. And it's just something I like to do, to try to recreate something like this. Okay, so I'll prepare this to a better looking finish, and then come back, and then we'll put all the bits and pieces on and the gun. So I'll be back in just a moment. So I put the Tamiya turret together, and stuck all the necessary bits and pieces on that you are required to put on. So that's the Tamiya turret. So my turret, I've given it a coat of watered down wall filler and then sanded that nice and smooth, and then give it a second coat which makes it even smoother. It's just as smooth as the plastic one. So that's the shape and texture then of my turret. Now all I have to do is put everything on what is on here. So the hatch that you're given in the kit for the Sherman turret, you're given a choice to put on, either an early version or a later version, which is great for me because I've got a ready-made hatch that I can use on my kit. I don't have to make that, so I can stick that straight on. I don't want hatches to open. I don't want soldiers sticking out the top. So all hatches and my turret, I don't necessarily want to move. I want the turret to turn, but I don't necessarily want the gun to traverse up and down. So that makes it a bit easier for me. But by the time I've put that on, and then there's another hatch just to the side of it that I've made that is it's flush with the top of the turret there. So by the time I've made mine and pressed it down into the styrofoam, that will be the same as that. And then I've got all these bits and pieces that I've made that are the same size and as accurately as I've made them, as accurately as possible to go onto my turret. So all these pieces correspond with what is on here, and the front will be like that. And then I've made this again, another piece of styrofoam that will sit on the front there. And then I've got my, I didn't bring it in, but I've got a gun the same size as this that will stick through there and be exactly the same. So I will continue with all my little bits and pieces here and put them on here, then probably give them yet another coat of white wall filler, and then they'll be ready. They'll both be ready then for an undercoat and then painting with olive drab. So I'll go ahead and put all these bits and pieces on, and I will be back again in just one moment. So I recreated everything that was on my Tamiya turret over to my turret. So I've got the same shape and everything that is on there. For the gun, I got these pieces of 5mm doweling, but the gun is 4mm. So I had to sand that down to 4mm and then make a slight taper for the length of the gun. For the handles, where are we? The handles all around, nice and easy. I used, if I could find it, a piece of 18 gauge wire, bend that round, what do you call them? Toothpick, goodness sake. Bend that round a toothpick, cut them off at an angle so they're sharp ends like that, and then just push them into the styrofoam. So they were very easy to do. In fact, easier to do than putting the ones on the Tamiya kit. I used bits and pieces of lollipop stick. I used thick toothpicks and thin toothpicks, wherever it is, yeah. 2 different sizes of toothpicks for various different operations, and 2mm cardboard. And of course I'd already got my hatch from that Tamiya very kindly gave me. Okay, so I'm going to spray them both now with a black aerosol spray. I don't have one of those little spray thingies. I don't think even if I had one, I don't think I'd be able to use it properly. So I'm going to use a spray can to paint them black, and then I'm going to mix my own drab olive drab paint to hand paint them. Again, I'm not going to buy those Tamiya spray paints. They're just too expensive. So I'm going to try and do it with a hand paint. So, okay, I'll do that and I'll come back and show you the end result. Okay, so both turrets finished now. I gave it a coat of this flat black aerosol spray can paint and then mixed black and yellow together, and you come up with a olive drab colour. So I brush painted both turrets, and there we are. From about that distance you can't tell the difference. Of course, as you get a bit closer you can start to see differences there, but I think that's as good a representation of the original as I can get anyway. So there we go, that's the turret done. The next job will be the chassis and the body. I don't see there being too much of a problem. This especially, just a box. Easy to make that, easy to recreate that. This a little more difficult in that that there are strange, funny little angles going down there. But I think we can overcome those. But that will be in the next video. The third video will be the track, the wheels and the suspension. Now I know that they are going to be a nightmare. So we'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But that will be the most difficult part of the project. So anyway, next video will be recreating those, and then I can stick my turret on. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If you click the notification bell and then click all, you'll be notified when my next video will be posted. Okay, so in the meantime, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you in part 2.